Hi guys, welcome to Journey of a Joyful Life podcast. I'm your host, Melody Chandler, and I'm so excited about this new season of our podcast, and I'm super excited today for our guest, Adrienne Hall. How are you, Adrienne?
Good, thank you.
Good. I'm doing great, thanks. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for inviting us.
Of course. So these first few podcasts, we're going to be talking to parents of kiddos with disabilities, and today we're starting with a bio mom who is a dear, sweet friend of mine who I've known for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And Adrienne, I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about who you are and what your story is.
Okay.
And go as far back and as in detail as you would like to go.
Okay. Let's see. Where do I begin? Well, I'm mom of 6 kids. Our youngest, Havila Walsh, was born with Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. And we were not expecting it, but I felt like God kind of gave me a heads up. It was at the time when there's a song, I think it was Bruce Carroll sang, Sometimes Miracles Hide. And I was listening to that. I was on the radio at the time, going back and forth to doctor's appointments. And I thought, well, that's quite a beautiful story. Mm-hmm. And what a wonderful outlook to have. And so lo and behold, we discovered she was born with Down syndrome. And we had such precious doctors. They both kind of were arguing with each other who would tell us that they found that she has Down syndrome. I'm going right into her story, but
that's okay. Well, let's go back a little bit. So you did not know when you were pregnant?
Did not know
that she would be born with Down syndrome, and all of your other kiddos, your 5 previous kids,
all typical.
Okay. And what are their age ranges, like separations between?
So there's about 2 years apart from each, and so after the 5th one, I actually had miscarried. Okay. And I told the Lord, I go, God, I just want one more. I just want to leave motherhood. I could have had 100 kids. My husband, not so much, but I could have had 100. And I said, Lord, I just want to leave on just a happier note, just a better note. Could I just have one more? Mm. And so he did. He gave me my heart's desire. And so there's a 4-year gap between her and her next oldest brother, Nathaniel. So yeah, he gave us one more. And
how old is she right now?
She is going to probably correct me, but I think she's going to turn 33 in November.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. I get mixed up. Once she hit 30, it's all blurred together. Like 30,
right?
How could you be that old?
Oh.
So she is our little angel surprise. And
now, what was it like in her birth? Was her birth non-complicated? Her pregnancy non-complicated?
It wasn't. The pregnancy was typical, was normal. At the time, there's something they were doing amniocentesis tests, and he said, there's some risk involved in that, or the obstetrician. He said, I know, he knew we were pro-life. He was pro-life. And he said, I know whatever the outcome, you're going to still care for this child. And I go, you're right. I don't want to take the risk, because I was 36 when she was born, which is not nowadays, like they called it geriatric, but really, right. Anyways, so they told us right away. My husband noticed something a little different. She was it was just a very easy birth, actually, just very, I don't know how to describe it, very floppy. It was just not that difficult to bring her into the world. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't really notice anything at first. I said, she kind of reminded me of my mom. And it's funny, somebody later on saw a picture of her recently and a picture of my mom. She goes, she looks like your mom. Aww. And I thought that was pretty cool. But she was kind of fussy, and that first couple of nights or so, and I was just exhausted. And number 6, you get a little tired.
Yes.
And thank goodness they still gave us 3 days in the hospital. But yeah. So she is there, and then we do find out the news. And of course, I went to college to be a teacher, so. Mm-hmm. I had a background. We had a psychology class. We went to an institution at the time where children with Downs were brought. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, my husband had the same experience in California. He had taken a class, had gone and seen these institutions. And I can remember, at the time we knew them, they were talked about as being mongoloid. Mm-hmm. And so we both had this kind of image of, oh my gosh, is this our child? Is this what we're going to have to face? And I just knew she was ours, but I didn't know what I needed to know about having a child with Down syndrome. Even though I had 5 more before, this is still a new experience. And so I was exhausted, and they brought the baby. I always had the babies with me in the room, and she was just fussing. And I thought, okay, let's see if I remember right. You feed her, you change the diaper, you burp them, see what's going on. So I did all those things and put her in the bed. So I could, the little crib there next to me. And I'm trying to go to sleep, and she's still just fussing. And I just can't figure out what's going on. And I'd even hold her for a little while to settle her down. She'd get settled down, and then put her in the bed, and she'd start fussing again. And I took my hand and I just touched her gently on her back or hand as I'm trying to fall asleep, and my hand's in the crib. She settles down instantly. And at that moment, the Lord, because I was struggling, like I didn't know, would she even know I was her mom? Like that's how much I didn't know about our child. And the Lord said, see, she knows you're her mom just by your touch. It was just the Lord just bringing that comfort, that encouragement when I needed it most. Yes. And so that's where we began our journey.
Yes, that's so amazing. Yeah. I love that the Lord gave you that.
Yes, he's good like that.
He's so good like that. I don't have the same experience with my sons with Down syndrome, but because of being adopted, right? But I actually asked myself the exact same question with my Sammy.
Wow.
Lord, will he ever know
sure
that I'm his mom? Like I didn't give birth to him, but I love him so much. But how will he ever know? And it's like that first time that he ever really looked up at me and smiled, because I had him for a long time before he ever did that. But once he did that, I was like just crying and weeping. I'm like, okay, he knows, God, he knows. Thank you for telling me he knows, And then I just, it was locked in, on my side. Yeah. And it was still a long time for him to, I'm sure, like really understand. But for me, I was like, oh, that's it. That's all it took, That's all it took. So now Havla's 33 years ago. Down syndrome and support and all those kind of things was so different from now. I mean, we were talking earlier, and Down syndrome is kind of like almost in some situations, like there's so much support. There's so many people now, especially with social media and different educational tools, like so much understanding, but that's not where
that's
not what you had 33 years ago.
It was a journey back then. So I, of course, reached out to the Down syndrome group of Houston, which were great. Mm-hmm. They sent me a 3-ring binder about this big, and it overwhelmed me, and I just I could barely even open it. Maybe the hospital gave me, or they did, I don't know which, a March of Dimes, old from the 60s, little pamphlet. Now, she was born in 93, which you would think, surely somebody's come out with a better pamphlet than the 1960s March of Dimes one. But anyway, so I just began there, and I wanted to learn. The educator, I guess, in me, whatever, the mom in me, wanted to learn everything I could possible about our daughter. And so it was interesting. My obstetrician had delivered another baby with Down syndrome. She was maybe, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, or 8. I don't know. And I thought, well, I'd love to meet her. Okay, I set it all up, and we gather the children around, and we say, now we're going to meet this young lady with Down syndrome, this mom, this family. They're going to come for dinner. And I just wanted them to, I think, I had not met the child, but I had wanted them to understand what this might mean for them. This is what having a child with Down, a sibling with Down syndrome. Well, that was quite the night. The mother was recently going through a divorce. Her husband had been in alcohol and drugs, and I didn't know how things were so unstable. She's got 2 children, and the daughter with Down syndrome was uncontrollable. And we actually had to lock Havila in our bedroom because she would want to go after her and touch her and mess with her. And it's like, no, don't touch her.
And she was a baby still,
right? Havy was just a baby, just a newborn.
Oh, wow.
And so it really backfired on me, that whole thought of, what your sister's going to be like.
Yeah.
But it all worked out okay. We tried to encourage her. It was just a difficult time for that child to cope, losing her father and just having a difficult time.
Yes.
But we didn't give up. We did find that she had a heart defect early on. The fact that the Texas Children said the fact that our pediatrician found it, because it was such a large hole, the smaller holes are actually easier to hear when you're, but our pediatrician, Dr. Heron, I'll give him a thumbs up for that.
There you go.
He found it. I think he's retired now, but he was wonderful.
Yes.
Because I began to dig. So they did an echo, and they said, let's just wait. She's not showing any signs of, she's not turning blue or getting winded. So we didn't have to have open heart till she was about 10 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And because she was doing fine. They watched it every year, and we had a wise old doctor who said, let's wait for technology to catch up with it, because they had to help with a flap. And she had no skin. I mean, she was just a baby. So they thought, let's wait a little bit longer. So that worked out great. But I forget where I was going with all that. Just the research, just finding out what could I find out about our child. And so I began to go, I don't know if it was even online, or we not even online yet. There was a TV program with Dixie Lawrence from Louisiana. Okay. And they had adopted a daughter, I believe. I don't remember. Maybe she was adopted. And the mom began researching and found these different nutrients that would really be beneficial. They were finding how our kids with Downs are naturally deficient in zinc. I learned that their immune system, because of that, is weaker. So I asked my pediatrician, could we delay her vaccines? I didn't want to bombard her immune system. And he was wonderful, because whatever I learned, I brought to him. And I said, can you look this over? What do you think? Because he was honest with me. And I thank God for that. He said, they might have a week of learning all of the special needs things that could happen, with children. A week to learn about all these different things. There's not even enough time for all that. So the fact that he was open and willing to listen to a mom and say, yeah, that works. I'll work with you with that. That vitamin sounds great. Or there's a nootropic drug, paracetam, that Obama actually banned, that actually helped her brain to function, the neurotransmitters in her brain to work better. Wow. And Robert's Pharmacy actually compounded it for us until Obama banned it. Wow. It's used in Europe all the time.
Oh, that's incredible. Robert's Pharmacy. I remember that from my childhood.
Yes, they're still around.
They were right next to Dr. Heron's office.
They were kind of close. It was great.
Yeah.
But so I did so much research, and I thought I was very clever, and I made these charts of why they needed this and why they need that. And I'd go to the Down syndrome picnic, and I'd bring my little chart, my little table, and I'd just try to introduce them to this new idea of there might be something different that we could use. There's also was a doctor back in, I don't know, maybe the 60s or whatever. And he also advocated a lot of vitamins, vitamin therapy, but it wasn't targeted. So this came to be known as targeted nutritional supplements. And that's what we did for Javi. And it seemed to make a huge difference. She was on the verge of getting tubes in her ears, and because she just kept getting sinus infections. And we got her on that program, and we never had to get tubes. She never had any problems with that.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
Wow. So the Lord really opened the doors for all those things.
He did.
Now, what about for therapy? Did she receive any therapies like speech or OT or PT?
So they had ECI. Okay. So they would come maybe once a week and did a little bit of things in the house with her. But because I had so many kids, and the teacher and me, I had a lot of things already on hand that we were already working with her. So, and just trying to do research, I learned through, I don't remember, there's a speech program through Sarah Rosenthal Johnson, I believe is her name. And she did, we brought some of that equipment to China.
I remember,
And we did a lot of oral motor exercises with Javi.
Yes.
The straws,
the
whistles. It was so much fun. Bubbles.
Yes.
And so we did a lot of that with her beyond what the schools or beyond what they were having locally. And there was Ellen Carlin was a speech therapist that did a lot of work with us. And it helped us understand more of that therapy. So that made a huge difference. She ran around with her brothers and sisters all the time.
Yes. She had built-in little therapists.
She had her own little therapist and people to keep up with and copy. And they wanted to put her in a PPCD program, which is like a 3-0 program. And I thought, well, I really didn't think so because none of our other children went to school at 3. So I thought, why would I send her? But I wanted to go and just look at what the program was. And it was a overwhelmed, overcrowded, like a pre-K program that was not near our house. And I thought, no, I don't want that for her. And then they said, well, we have this other room. And in that other room were 2 or 3 nonverbal children, wheelchair bound. And I thought, that's not going to be a good environment for her either because it's isolating and she would copy. She was a very good copycat. And so I thought, no, that's not what I want for her. So we waited and then we put her in public school for, I believe, pre-K and K. No, not even pre-K. Maybe it was. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to advance her because she didn't know her 2-letter words like in, it, is. And I go, really? When did you practice those? We never got any paperwork from the school about you're working on these letters. I would have done all that at home. Oh, well, she was so cute. We just let her play in the playground at the play centers while we were teaching school. Nobody made sure that she did the work with the children, or they just let her be. And they wanted me to put her in life skills. And maybe I'm naive, but I thought, well, what life skills does a kindergartner need or a first grader going to need,
Right.
So no, so we brought her home and we started homeschooling her from that point on.
Okay.
And then there's another journey with the schools that
How many years did you homeschool her? How many years did you keep her at home?
We probably kept her at home. I wanted to be sure she could read. So we kept her in school till fourth grade. Then we found out the intermediate school had a co-teaching model of 5th and 6th graders.
Okay.
And that's when I went back to school, got certified so I could also sub in the school. So I could be near her, but not over her, not constantly bugging her. And so we had a wonderful experience with teachers that were willing to do that with us. She fell in love with science because she had a teacher that engaged her in chemistry, or not chemistry, but nature science. She could pull the bones out of an owl pellet and make a rat. She participated in a lot of the programs. So we're very thankful that she had that.
That's amazing.
So
that's awesome. And then she stayed in public school all the way through until she was 21.
No, we actually let her graduate on time.
Oh, look at that.
She had her siblings, same thing. They knew when they were finished with high school, they went on and did another program.
Right.
We had a teacher in junior high that was a principal that was phenomenal. And she let Havila be on the drill team. She tried out for it. Aww. She passed. We asked the students to film the dance routine so she could practice over the summer. So we did that with her, so she was prepared. She loves to dance. Anyways, it wasn't hard.
Yes.
And so, so she did that in junior high. And then high school, her older sibling said, Mom, whatever you do not let her go in the life skills program. Do not let that happen. So we had to work hard at the ARDS to see that this is not what we wanted for her. We didn't want her in the life skills classroom. I've subbed in there, and it was so demeaning. The teacher finally got fired, who was over that in the high school. And it was just so demeaning. High schoolers playing with blocks, it wasn't appropriate, and it was just so demeaning.
Yeah.
So she did resource. She actually, so she was in resource, math, I think, and what's the other, English, but she was there within typical science and history classes, took photography, had a blast, did theater, construction, took some dance classes. So art, but she excelled in swimming. She swam all her life. Like she learned about 3 or 4.
Wow.
And got in the swim team.
Okay.
And she never actually won a race, but she got standing ovations many times. And the other teams were very welcoming of her. And she has perfect stroke. She can do a butterfly like it's history making anyways. It's perfect form. It's just not, she just doesn't have speed, but she has all heart.
Yes, she does.
And I appreciate the coaches, the teachers that gave her that chance to be a part of typical children and included her. So
that's amazing. And then I remember after high school, she
did
to her extra program. She was so proud of herself for that. I will never forget.
She went to a past program at college, Texas A&M. It was a 1-year program. She lived in an off-campus dorm. She had to, they did a practicum after, I think maybe at the start of the second semester. And they asked her, do you need help, knowing how to get to where her assignment was? And she goes, no, I'm fine. Well, she didn't know how to get there.
Oh, no.
And because I asked her and she had no idea. So the week of spring break, I went before they went back to go, or 1 week before they went back. I went there the week ahead of time and I mapped it out on the bus. I mean, she had to pick up a bus at Texas A&M in College Station in the dark, 6 a.m. in the morning, know exactly where to stand and to flag the bus down, to get on the bus, go to the bus station, change buses, get on another bus, and know exactly where to, I guess you pull the thing to get off, to know where she worked at a day hab program.
Wow.
And we had to do that maybe only 1 or 2 days is all we had, and she knew how to do it. Wow. So, but I digress, because they have a program called something before you go to college. It's like a little camp in the summer. And so she went to that. I forget what it's called. It's been a while. So she goes there, and one of the very first days, they go to the George Bush Library, and everybody gets out and walking around, and Abby comes out, and there's nobody around from the group that went and the person who was leading everybody. And she had to call somebody and say, hey, where are you? They had left her there. Somebody didn't do a head count. So she was there at Texas A&M on unfamiliar place, but she knew to stay put. These are so many things. The day we dropped her off at this college camp, they had to be at their classes. They had to know when their classes started. That she doesn't know how to use an alarm. Like, maybe I was her alarm in high school. So make sure you teach them how to get up in the morning on their own. And somehow, or maybe she had an alarm clock that was already set or something in her house. Well, iPhones thankfully had just come out. She had one. And her brother goes, Mom, she has an iPhone. She can set an alarm. Oh, okay. Will you call her and tell her how to do that? So all those things to help them prepare to be independent. We had to teach her laundry. She's on a HCS waiver program, but before that, there was another program where she had an assistant that would come in and they would bake things, or she would take them grocery shopping. And I let her teach her how to do the laundry, because it's easier when it's not Mom doing it.
Yes.
We can't do everything, and they don't want us to do everything.
I attest to all that, yes.
And teach them everything. But they hear it from us all the time. So it's nice when there's some fresh. She was young and worked wonderfully with Abby.
Oh, it's wonderful.
So
that's great. So she finished out her year.
She finished out that year.
And she graduated.
She worked for a little bit. Well, I can't remember at what point. So at one point she worked for a Girl Scout camp. Maybe that was after she came back. Over the summer, she worked with the Camp Misty Meadows.
Yes.
Because she also horseback rode all her life and competed at Top End's rodeo in Houston. And so she did Girl Scout camp. She did after school care, and she with the YMCA at a local school. And then so when she came back, she did a little bit trying to find a job that would be a good fit, working in a day hab. But we found a friend of ours who had an elderly mother and needed somebody to sit with her at the house. Oh. And so that worked for a couple of weeks, maybe almost all summer. She worked with a hospice type company through them. And it worked pretty good until the grandmother needed to take a bath. And she wasn't sure. They didn't address that in the training.
Yes.
So we helped her out a little bit. But once that time was over, she goes, it's not for me. So, but, and And then she did it. She went back. We went back again for a second program, and this is the Texas workforce paid for both sessions for her to stay in an off-campus dorm, meals, and the tuition, whatever it was all covered by them. So it was wonderful to reach out to them because they can help you with your child's career.
Yes.
And then so she went back because we thought when she finished she would be trained as a para. Okay. And so when she came back, so in the meantime she had worked at Kroger as a bagger in between. But when she came back after that program, she thought for sure she's going to get this job working in a school district as a para. They weren't ready for her. She went for a couple of interviews, and whether I couldn't be there, so I don't know what backfired. But she had worked. If we had lived in College Station in Bryan, she probably would have gotten hired in those schools because they worked. Wow. That's where she did her practicum.
Yes,
but they just weren't ready for her yet. Mm-hmm. And by that time, she had really grown to love Kroger's, and they had really done well with her. And just to let you know, sometimes we imagine so many dreams for our children, and like any child, you can't change their mind. And even though I dreamed of her working in school, I dreamed of her having this wonderful career or working in a coffee shop, which she did for a short time as well. Mm-hmm. But she found this place where she enjoys meeting people. She enjoys thanking servicemen and women for their service. Mm-hmm. She enjoys people. Yeah. And so that is her place. And I have to say, I'm okay with this. I'm okay that she loves being there. Mm-hmm. Who am I to say this is not where you're supposed to be? But nurture that. Let her have that dream of meeting people. And she'll even have people in uniform come through that served, or their mothers, mm-hmm. that they knew her from the schools when she was in the after school care. They remember Havila. Oh. And so she gets to see kind of full circle. Wow. She thanks them for their service in uniform, and mm-hmm. they thank her for, being there when they were little ones. But
that's amazing.
Amazing to see how the Lord brings yes. it all back.
Yes. Well, I get the joy to go to Kroger sometimes yes. and see her there. And it's literally, she's so joyful in her job. She loves it. I mean, and I can see her, she's like looking around all the time, like, who's here that I might know, and so I don't even have to worry. Yeah. I mean, I go right past her and she's like, hey, and everybody just knows. Yeah. You can tell they all just love her. Yeah. And, she'll ask about all the things. And the lady that's working with her at the checkout, she's always, well, how do you know everybody? She's like, yeah, I know.
And she'll come home. She goes, so-and-so, somebody who knew Jacob and Naomi in high school, they came by. And I go, well, what were the names? Well, I don't know, but they said hi to me because they knew me,
Yes. Oh, that's so precious.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's quite the little movie star, or just star in general.
No, well, you mentioned that, but she actually gets to be in a film. They filmed her like a week or two ago. And I feel like a month before that, she told me there was a group of supervisors and people from other stores in a big meeting. And she was one of the people that was there. And I thought, well, that's unusual. I wonder what that was about. Well, then she told me, Mom, they're going to film. And all day I'm saying, is the crew there yet? Are they there yet? No response. Then she finally goes, they're gone. So I was going to go and gaggle over her.
Yes.
Talk at her, but I'm probably glad I didn't. Yeah. But they told her they used her as a promo. Wow. And it's going to be filmed. It's going to be sent all over the world. Whatever, and they're going to give her a clip of it. So we'll send it on to you when it comes through.
Wait. That's so amazing. Yeah. I love her so much, and I love how passionate she is about life. And every time I have an interaction with her or see her, even whenever you guys came to China, I mean, Havila is just a special girl.
She is.
She is just unlike most that I've ever met. And I think, you've talked so much about her life and all the things leading up to that, but I was wondering if you could share a little bit about, like, what was it like for you to be her mom? Because she's successful because of you, Adrienne. Well, and I mean, God had a lot to do with it, and I'm sure your husband, he was supportive, I would hope, and your other kids, but it couldn't have always been easy.
Well, you're right. There were moments at the beginning that I just didn't know. I didn't know how in the world I was going to be able to be her mom. Like I just didn't know. I felt inadequate. Um, I didn't understand everything that I would need to know about her, and I realized I had to also. I could not separate her from all the other children. I had to find a way that they all felt like they all belonged, and that I wasn't only solely focused on her. But you struggle with that because there are things. There is so much therapy. There is when we homeschooled, we would have times scheduled where they would meet with me, go along. I had another mom. I was homeschooling her son, so she helped out. So in the rotation, they all had a time they had to play a game with Abby, or they had to do something to help with that, or walk a balance beam together, or to be part of teaching her. Mm-hmm. When she stood up for the first time, I have a video of it, because walking, we just didn't know when this was going to happen. Yeah. And most babies will crawl along or hold on to something, but that was never happening. So somehow we had a giant mirror in our bedroom. And one day the kids were just watching her, and she decided you know how they'll sit like this, their little legs together. Well, she would just push up and stand up like that. Nothing like holding on to grabbing. No, she just decided to use that and stand up. And the kids broke out into cheers, like, aww, yay, she did it. So she was all those little accomplishments. Yes. And therapies, horse therapies, taking her swimming, doing things to help build her muscle for muscle thing, the speech. So yes. And Dad took a little bit to adjust. It was harder, I think, on him, because he really was fine that there weren't going to be any more children. He was okay with that. And so then you have this surprise, and then you have this other surprise that, oh, she's got some special attention that we're going to have to do. So a lot of times marriages, unfortunately, it's very hard for them to stay together. So by the grace of God, somehow we wiggled through and made it 46 years this summer.
Wow.
But
congratulations.
Yeah, there are struggles, but the best thing is I was never alone in it. And I think without the Lord, I don't see how I could have done it. Mm-hmm. He was that comfort. He was my guide in it. He's the one who gave me hope that we could have a life that was like her siblings. I started a support group because I figured if I don't know much about Down syndrome, I bet there's other families in the county. So I started a support group called Hidden Miracles Parent Network. We had a newsletter. I would have a little from my heart, little blurb, kind of before these podcasts came in. It was my little note to families.
Yes.
And I would try to bring in speakers. I would meet families of children with Downs. And I thought, I want to know what you're doing, because I love what I see in your child. I love that they can read and they're articulate and they're polite. And one of the best speakers I had was a mom, and her daughter came in a 3-piece suit when hose was still something people wore. Right. Heels, little high heels. Judy Heil and her daughter Tracy. Tracy went to Sam Houston for a while. Wow. I'm not sure what capacity, but I know that she was there. And the mom said, our children, when you see somebody, you're not necessarily going to know they can't read very well, or their speech is not as well as it can, but you can teach them to be appropriate socially, to dress appropriately, to behave appropriately, those things, because that's part of the world we're in. That's just part of being in the world. You have to find a way to be appropriate. Mm-hmm. And plus my kids were saying, Mom, you make sure she has to obey you. You make us obey you. You make sure she does everything that she does what you tell her to do. And so that also gave us some backbone. Like we gotta keep a standard, because yes, would it be easy to dote on her and ignore her? But we learned early on she could comprehend much more than she could express. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we taught her a few, like more and cookie and is that thank you?
Thank you.
Thank you. And please.
Yeah, that was please.
I said, she got fed cookies that whole day. Like whatever it was, you want more? Yes. Yeah. And it helped free her a little bit to express, because there were times where she would just get angry and tantrums, and we had to help her express herself appropriately. Yes. And we had to practice. I had to tell, if she wouldn't, bless my first daughter's heart. My firstborn, if she didn't say something nice, like, oh, you have a pretty dress, we would correct her, like, tell her thank you. But she wouldn't respond. So we thought, oh, we're going to have to correct this child. Big mistake. Sorry, Naomi. But but with her, we learned we had to practice. So if she didn't respond appropriately, we said, well, we're working on this. And then we had to follow through and practice at home. So we would teach her. If somebody says, oh, what a pretty dress, you say, thank you. Can you practice? And if you don't want to say it, thank goodness for sign language, because then you have it out. But so our kids made sure we kept the standard the same for them as it was for her. And
that's so good. And she did it.
She did it. So we tried to gather with other families, and through this parent network. We had monthly newsletters would go out. We worked with the school district a little bit, trying to let them know that this is available for our families, because so many of us just didn't know. I didn't know. I was willing to admit I didn't know what I didn't know. And together we could find things. So that became just a talking point. We had volunteers that would watch the kids, but that was just a season. I wasn't really good about managing things. You had to file with the government. It just got very hard. And it was a new season. Javi was going off to college. I felt like it's time now, if anybody else wants to pick up, because I couldn't keep doing all that. Life was getting, there's seasons, and you have to let that seasons go. And that was hard to let that go. But
God used you for such a long time.
For a little time.
Doing all those things, for sure. And I'm sure maybe finding community during that time before, social media was big, or even the internet was really big, was totally different to have to figure out. Like you said, your doctor shared some information, or a family, but I'm sure maybe when you got involved with the school district, you could find other families. But how did you find your community, and how did you, I think, I just speak from my own experience. Just because a family might have a child with Down syndrome doesn't mean they're going to be your perfect community.
That's right.
Right? It's just with it. Just because you have a daughter doesn't mean everyone with a daughter is going to fit in your community, right?
That girl was pretty difficult.
So how did you kind of weed through, and what did that look like for you? Because, at the same time, you want to have people that are like-minded, not just with Down syndrome, but also like with how you want to live your family. And that's things that as parents we're always struggling through. Like, how do we find the right community for us? And it doesn't have to look the same for everybody. Not everyone's community is the same. But what did that look like for you?
I think it's just a process. We've grown. One of the things we did was we would just meet people. We would have kind of like a welcoming pack and a little basket that we would meet moms in the hospital. We would have this simple little folder that, pocket here and a pocket here with like 6 papers in it. Like,
that wasn't from the 60s.
It wasn't from the 60s. Had a really sweet picture on it, just to say, here's a start. And if you'd like to get involved in these groups, you can. And then it was always hard. The hardest was probably through high school. If she hadn't been on the swim team, she met some great friends, or dance teams. She but even our other kids, some got into theater, and that was kind of their niche, or church groups, sometimes youth meetings. But you don't always have that with a special needs kid.
Right.
And so it wasn't really until she was older, when she got off to college, she began developing her own friendships. And that really helped a lot. But you just we did some Special Olympics, but even then that was after high school. And but some schools have that. Some schools will have that things. One of the families that she's connected with, again, we actually did meet at Hidden Miracles years and years ago. And so it was really fun to reconnect, to see them in some of the dances that they have locally, or Night to Shine, or
that's so special.
So it's great to see them develop their own friendships, but it takes a while.
Yeah.
She'd love a boyfriend one day. And that it's difficult. I know, when she sees some of the special needs community having those close friendships.
Yes.
But she says she knows that, she said, well, if God wants him, and then he's going to have to talk to my dad. And so
I love it.
She's all ready for that when that moment happens. But
That's precious.
And they have an agape Bible study too, where there's more friendships there.
Yes.
So, and the phone helps a lot, definitely, connecting to other people. So,
yes. I mean, I love it when she texts me. Sometimes she'll just text me randomly.
I thought of you. Here.
Yes, exactly. I think I saw your van or something. She'll say something, or yeah, here's a video. She loves to send that. So I love it so much because also you can tell there's so much intrinsic thought going on. I mean, she's just thinking, and she's got all these things going on in her mind that. Even sometimes if I've seen her at the store, then like a day or two after, she'll text me something about.
By the way, you're still my friend, right?
Yes, yes. It's so precious. I love it so much. So if you were talking to a mom, now and with all the resources, with all the things, I know sometimes I think of it as like a huge blessing, but also sometimes I think about it as a curse now with we have all the voices, right? We have all the things speaking into us. And although maybe when you had Javi, you had to really search, really research and fight kind of for allowing her on your own to believe in her and, to help her to believe in herself that she can do all these things,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But now it's so loud. And it can be hard on the other hand for moms, like I'm not doing enough. There's all this stuff that I can do that should be done. There's these pressures. And that's hard too, especially when you have your other children. Like how do we have a balance? How do we give them everything that they need while also supporting our whole family and our marriage and, all these kinds of things,
Yeah.
So what would you tell a mom now, knowing what you know after 33 years of, living this life and not you've been a mother much longer than 33 years, but what would you say?
That you're enough. You're enough. And you do what you can and just know that you're enough. And don't let anybody ever make you feel like you haven't done enough because you are enough. And that's all you can do. That's all you can do. And be grateful, walk gratefully and just take some time also for yourself. You have to be able to be centered on yourself as well. And whatever happens, don't take it personally, and don't let anybody say you're not enough. The school district, I think, can make you feel like you're not enough. And that's the hardest thing, I think, to face when the school district doesn't want to respect your longings, your desires, and they see, unfortunately, I think they see a label and they think this is as far as your child's ever going to go. So don't expect anything else from us or from your kids. And I think that's one of the hardest things to overcome, that, and enjoy every minute, every laughter, every mess up, every messy diaper. Just, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And let them develop into who they want to be. And God is there. When everything else fails, know that God is there. And He's going to supply you with every grace you need to raise your child, to know what to do. And just let Him lead you.
I love that.
He's the best.
He is the best. I don't know how people do it without Him. I wonder if sometimes just, as a believer, truly that is where my strength comes from.
Yes.
I know that you say the same thing. And there's so much unknown. And there's I just think about, I remember whenever I found out that you had cancer. Yeah. And I remember even just thinking, Lord, what in the heck? Like, could you just not? Like, what was your deal? And I really had a little moment with him. Like, this is not in my plan for her. Not that I ever got to say. But, just thinking about how one more time the Lord wanted, even if it was just for my life, to see Him work in your life, as such an example of how you so sweetly just surrendered to the Lord. And I mean, you have been in my life for many, many years, but not very close. Not always very close.
Not as we should be, right?
Right, exactly. We live very close to each other, actually. But we are.
We have a kindred spirit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We do. And I just remember the Lord saying, look at who she is and what I've brought her through. And do you not think I'm going to do a work in her and all of her family and her children and Hamla and, all these things. And I just was like, but I'm still mad, you gotta just not give it to her. But then I saw how beautifully you walked that road.
His grace is sufficient.
And his grace was sufficient. And you're amazing. You look great. I haven't even asked you about your health recently, but I just know that the Lord has used you in your life to minister to so many people, even when you didn't even realize. Right. I mean, when you chose to come to China and volunteer with Javi, I was like, whoa, this is incredible. This is like the most full circle moment in my whole entire life. I just remember how special that was for me. And then on the backside of that, I can remember, for years and still, sometimes when I'm at Kroger, and the first thing Javi will say is, this is Melody. I went to her house whenever she lived in China. That was the very first thing that she'll say. That's all. Because it meant so much to her.
It did.
That really did. Brought her there, and that you got to spend that time with her. And she always says that our electricity went out. And she had to walk up all those flights of stairs. Yes, I remember that. It was like 21 flights of stairs you guys had to walk up and down. And she helped cart the kids up there. And I just remember thinking, why, God, why have you done this? It happened all the time when we lived there. But no elevators. So here we go. All the kids. And
we're all in.
Yes. And just what a work the Lord has done in Havla's life.
Yeah.
Because of you, Adrienne. And when I was thinking about
That's not why I came here to hear that, but thank you.
I was thinking about Mother's Day this week, and just like you just deserve to be so honored because of the mother that you are, not because of anything you've done, but what you've allowed the Lord to do through you. And you've truly been an example to all mothers, not just those of kids with disabilities, but especially for those of us who were many years behind you, and even walking it in a different way. My journey has looked different than yours, and I chose to have my boys with Down syndrome, but the Lord chose you to be the one who, made that path before us.
He's good. He's good. It's funny you mentioned that. When I was in the grocery store one day, and the lady behind me looked kind of familiar, but I couldn't place her. I just missed her. She had already gone home, and I finally said, I'm sorry, but do I know you? And she goes, I think so. I'm so-and-so. And I worked with Javi when she was at that intermediate school, that 5th and 6th grade combo. She goes, I was one of her teachers. And I go, well, it's so good to see you. And she goes, yeah, I see Javi in here. She goes, but I want you to know something. You have no idea. And I go, you're right, I don't. Tell me, what are you talking about? She goes, well, after Javi went on to junior high and high school, she goes, years later, I was pregnant, and they told me I was going to have a child with Down syndrome. And she just smiled. She said, the doctor's like, are you okay? She goes, I'm going to be okay. She said, because I've seen Havila, and I've seen what life that she's lived, and that she goes, I'm going to be okay. Oh. And I said, thank you. I think it was like the day before her birthday or something. And I said, thank you so much for sharing that, because you don't know, like you say, you don't know who is there and who's watching. And you just have to give God all the glory, because he's the reason we can do what we do. Havila's middle name is Grace. Sam did a documentary. It was his final exam, and it's called Grace, a documentary about Havila or something like that on Down syndrome. And so there's another story somewhere out in the universe. WV Sam, I think, is the logo that he uses on YouTube, but you can see it still on YouTube, where he documented her life. And some of the comments were, is she okay? When did she pass? And I was like, no, she's still alive.
We're celebrating because she's still here. She's still living her best life.
But
anyway, I love it so much. Well, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for inviting me. I didn't talk your ear off.
No, I loved it so much, and I think it's going to be such an encouragement to everybody listening. So thank you. Hope you guys enjoyed this.